Things just got worse and worse and worse as the night went on. Again, valiant effort down the stretch for the Bucks. Just too little, too late. Let's go down and let's see what Coach Fletch and the rest of the crew has to say. As always, go Bulls. So let's head into the locker room right now and see what the guys have to say about that one. Wow. Where do the Buccaneers go from here? What an incredible atmosphere. What a good win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They snapped a 7-game winning streak. How we feeling, Bucs Nation? It's time to party, baby.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Recher podcast. Happy November 3rd, 2025. Where has the year gone? Over 180 episodes this season. How crazy is that? This year, actually. 183, I think it is today. Unbelievable. Plenty to get into on the program today. What a show we have for you. It's a Victory Monday. We'll take Victory Monday, even though the Bucks were off, USF was off, but the Lightning, freaking Tampa Bay Lightning, ladies and gentlemen, they're balling the hell out. So, well, it's a Victory Monday because of the Bolts. We'll take it. We'll take it, baby. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe. We are inching closer to 2,000 subscribers. That is the goal for this year. Let's get up to 2,000. Come on now. What a show we have for you guys today. It's a Monday, so at 12:30, our good pal Ian Beckles is going to join us as well. However, we have a huge guest coming in at 1:40 today. That's right. Not 1:30, not 1:45, at 1:40 today, the Hall of Famer, the new COO of athletics for the University of South Florida, Derrick Brooks, joins us on the program today. Cannot wait to speak to Double Nickel on the program about all things USF, about the Bucks. A huge, huge night over at the Yuengling Center tonight for USF as the women and the men tip off 6 and 8 o'clock. It's a doubleheader. One ticket gets you 2 games. Get there at the YC. I got practice tonight, or else I definitely would be over there. But yeah, make sure you go support the Bulls. And we just saw a huge announcement on Thursday before the matchup against UTSA. ESPN will be on campus. So the article is up. Joey Knight from the Tampa Bay Times wrote it. It's up there. I retweeted a bunch of times on my Twitter /X at Recher. Get out there to the Student Center Thursday starting at 1 o'clock. And we're talking about a huge day. Matt Berry is going to be out there. ESPN Sports Center. Get on out there and support our Bulls. This is one of those things, man. People wonder, how is the exposure going to change? What is USF going to do to be able to make sure they're at the front of this entire thing when it comes to college athletics, when it comes to the transfer portal and the NIL and, trying to get into a bigger conference? Well, we're here. We're here. We got Rob Higgins at the helm there, the CEO of athletics. We got Derrick Brooks. Again, he joins us at 1:40 today on the show. He's your COO of athletics for USF. If you are not on board with USF, I don't know what you're doing. Don't wait. Get on board right now. The green and gold, the future is bright for South Florida. I cannot wait to see what the future holds, man. It's going to be awesome. So, again, Derrick Brooks joins us at 1:40. We got the men and the women in action tonight. Women first at 6, men at 8 o'clock tonight from the Yuengling Center. Go USFBulls.com. All the information there. And then Thursday, pack out Raymond James Stadium. Make sure you go on out there to the campus, man. Bring your signs. It's almost like a college game day atmosphere during the week. That's going to be a lot of fun, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, really, really good stuff for our Bulls. What else are we going to talk about on the program today? What about that World Series? We'll start off the show with that. My goodness, one of the best World Series in recent history. We'll get into that. Sorry, Greg DeCruz, big Blue Jays fan he is. Man, that was nuts. We'll get into that here momentarily. Of course, the Tampa Bay Lightning, Ian Beckles. We'll talk about the other NFL games, the the college football. What happened with Miami? My goodness, Mario Cristobal. I thought Miami, somebody asked me earlier this year what I thought of who I thought was going to be a contender. And I said, man, You got all the skill players. You got a veteran quarterback in Carson Beck, and you have got Mario Cristobal, who understands the importance of building in the trenches, offensive line, defensive line, and they fall apart. They fall apart once again. For all my Miami fans out there, I feel for you. I feel for you. And we know the NFL trade deadline's coming up tomorrow. There's already been a big move. The Eagles trade a third-round pick to Miami to get Jalen Phillips to help out their pass rush. Something I know there was Buccaneers fans wondering, are they going to make a move? Are they going to go out there and try to fortify that pass rush? Because especially with the injury to Hassan Reddick, it's not been good enough. Bucs got to be better. No doubt about it. A big thank you to our sponsors, our partners right here. Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, a USF grad himself, 813-244-0956. We love our friends over at Honest Hammer Custom Builders. Evra Health. I was over there on Friday with Dr. Rodriguez. The injury report's going to be Wednesday this week. Dr. Rodriguez is going on vacation Wednesday night, so can't join us Thursday. He's going to join us Wednesday at 12:30. So he will join us, but shout out, as always, to our friends over at Evra Health. Really, really good stuff there. Always want to hear from you guys. Questions, comments, concerns, put them there at the bottom of the screen. David Terry, Bolts, Knowles, and Liverpool all win. What a great weekend. Eddie, familiar with it, dude. Phillips to Philly Fangs. No, he's a dog. And you might say they're not doing good, buddy. Bolts are doing good. Shout out to Dolan. Maurice Tucker in the house. Beat the Pats. Happy Monday, Jay. Happy Monday to you, Big Mo. Appreciate you, my friend. Dolan, the England Becletas. Look for real. They do, man. I tell you what, there's a lot of different college football teams out there, and you wonder what they're going to look like every week. You look at Ohio State and you look at Indiana. Those are the two teams that I'm not ever unsure of what I'm going to see. They just go out there and ball every single weekend. It just doesn't stop. Benny wants to know, what athletic conference will USF be in 5 years? My guess, I'd say the ACC. Atlantic Coast Conference. Get there. Help you out in all the different sports. You're going up there against Duke and North Carolina and Clemson, Florida State. I think that would make a lot of sense. I mean, Big 12, I know people would love to see the Big 12 and you kind of rekindle that rivalry with UCF, but I'm thinking bigger. I'm thinking bigger and badder. How about a rivalry with Florida State? Why not? Pick a fight with the Noles, right? Go with their Clemson going against Dabo Swinney. Imagine Coach Golish and Dabo Swinney. That'd be pretty badass. What about the basketball side? Playing at Cameron Indoor, playing against North Carolina and all those tremendous schools, men's basketball, women's basketball. That'd be badass, man. Let's go with the ACC. Rolly, what's going on, buddy? Go Bulls is right. Let's see. Miami Fraudicanes. There's a lot of people feeling like that today. Everybody out there, whether you're watching on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter /X, hit that like button right now, guys. Every single like and share certainly helps. USF just has to win that simple. Robert Cochran in the house. You got that right. I would have liked the Buccaneers to get Jalen Phillips instead of him going to the stinking Eagles. What is going? Richie P in the house as well. Good afternoon to you. Robert says the Big Ten. Carlos Pesura, what's up, Jay? Let's go Bulls. Bulls to the ACC would be great. Richie saying USF basketball tonight. We'll try and make it, but even if I don't, watch it on ESPN Plus. Yes, again, the back-to-back, the doubleheader tonight, USF women's basketball, USF men's basketball, 6 and 8 from the Yingling Center. Go USFBulls.com. Get your tickets right now. One ticket, get you 2 games. Cannot beat that. It's a fun time. If you've never been to the Yingling Center, it is a blast. So much fun. So much fun. All right, let's get into this before we start getting back into the Tampa Bay Lightning. That World Series was absolutely incredible. And, of course, I want to hear from you guys, your thoughts on the series. And Toronto going back home with a 3-2 lead. They're unable to pick up a dub as the Dodgers win in Game 6 and Game 7. And a happy Monday to you too, Karen. I was thoroughly impressed with the baseball in both of those games. And not one time did I say to myself, wow, the Dodgers, they spent all this money. I mean, after the fact, if that's what you're talking about, like, all right, great, bro. Yeah, I know it sucks, okay? I know it sucks, right? That there's no salary cap. But, like, that didn't matter. It didn't matter during the game. The Blue Jays weren't thinking when they're out there trying to secure one victory. Well, it'd be different if we spent more money. They don't think about that kind of stuff. To the Blue Jays' credit, they're out there and they're battling, and they took the Dodgers to a game 7. You don't have to be impressed. That's your prerogative. That's fine. But it was great baseball. And I tell you what, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, dude, you want to talk about rising to the occasion, going out there and pitching after throwing over 90 pitches in game 6, goes out there and throws more than 2 innings in game 7 to secure the victory. Unbelievable. That guy, I so thoroughly impressed with him. I just, and regardless of how much money is spent, the moves that were made by Dave Roberts were, I mean, there's been times where people were wondering, all right, do they win because of Dave Roberts or in spite of Dave Roberts? And when you look at what he was able to do there at the end of the game, what he was able to do pretty much in all in game 7, the way he broke everything down, how he went from Shohei to Robelski and then really just stuck with the starters, stuck with Tyler Glasnow, went to Blake Snell, going to Yoshinobu again and not going to Roki Sasaki, not going to Clayton Kershaw or any of the other relievers. Right? He stuck with what worked. Also, some of the other moves that he made, going with Miguel Rojas, who made some incredible defensive plays, comes up with the big home run with 1 out in the 9th. Masterful. The decision to take Tommy Edman out and put Andy Pages in center field. Do you know how hard that is to be able to make that play in center field when a guy's literally barreling it? I don't know what Kike Hernandez was doing out there. This dude's running, or he's trying to do like a Willie Mays catch with the season on the line. And I don't know what the hell he was. He wasn't trying to run to a spot and make a catch. He was running, going like this. Pages had the angle on it. What a great play by him right there. And listen, you give the Dodgers credit. A guy like Will Smith comes in, hits the home run, secures the victory for the Blue Jays. And you feel for Shane Bieber, you feel for Jeff Hoffman, you feel for the Blue Jays, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette. I mean, you think about it, when Bo hits the 3-run home run, you're thinking, man, that's going to be one of the most famous home runs in Toronto Blue Jays history. But unfortunately, it's just a small side note of the entire thing. And it was just so beautiful to be able to see so many people locked in to this series, from the 18-inning game to the to game 6 and game 7, a masterful performance from Savage, and just so many different people that played a part to help just make that one of the most entertaining World Series that we've seen probably in the last couple of decades. And for the Blue Jays, who I know a lot of people wrote off, I know a lot of people looked at the Blue Jays and said, oh, well, are they going to be able to carry over some of that success on the regular season? They certainly did. They certainly did. And Schneider has nothing to hang his head about. I know there's a lot of people that are wondering about the base running at third base from Isaiah Kiner-Falefa there. And people have been asking me on social media, what do I think about it? Because as a guy who coaches third, I'm watching that type of thing really, really closely. Now, it's easy for people to look at what he was doing in that situation and say, you got to get off the base more. You got to have a better secondary lead. If you would have done that, you would have scored and they would have won the World Series. But you do not know what he was coached to do in that moment. You just don't. And I thought the one person that really on social media put it the best was Whit Merrifield, the guy that used to play for the Blue Jays, all-star with the Royals, just a solid pro, right? Solid veteran that knew all the little, about all the little things that made him successful in his MLB career. And what Whit Merrifield had to say, and this is why you have to be very careful, guys. I know it's, you get emotional and you go on social media and everybody thinks they're a freaking expert, right? But you don't. You don't always know. Listen to the people that take the emotion out of it. Because the people that are often wrong on social media when it comes to sports are the ones right after something happens talking shit about somebody on the field who hasn't played a day in their life just because they were a writer or they used to cover this sport and all they do is bash, bash, bash. You don't know. You don't know. You don't know what the situation is there. You don't know what Isaiah Kiner-Falefa was told at third base. And that's what Whit Merrifield was saying. He's saying that you can only get off as much as the third baseman was with Max Muncy. And Muncy was playing pretty close to the bag in relation to what a third baseman would usually play for a left-handed bat. So you know, in that instance, that the Dodgers were very aware that they needed to do something to keep the runner close at third base. This wasn't one of those things where they didn't care or they weren't paying attention. No. We know from the Dodgers and the wheel play, remember this in the series against the Phillies, same postseason, seems like years ago. This is a team that over communicates and they are not leaving any stone unturned. For all the talk about money, right? This is a very smart baseball team. When you bring in Freddie Freeman, when you bring in Mookie Betts, when you bring in Miguel Rojas, you bring in Max Muncy, like these are smart baseball players. And as much as they spend, I get it. But if that's the case, then it would be them and the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Mets every single year. But it's not. So why is it? It's because, yes, they bought all those players, but they bought the right guys in. Max Muncy staying close to the base at third base right there made sure that Isaiah Kiner-Falefa was not getting off too much. Remember, here's another thing. You don't want to get picked off from the catcher. And from a third, when you have a left-handed batter up there, you take an outside fastball, a catcher can almost run a pick, like a pitch out kind of play and beam it down to third base. You get picked off at third base. That's 10 times worse, 100 times worse than the play that we saw where you got thrown out at home. You also have to be cognizant of line drives because you don't have enough time. If you take too big of a secondary lead and there's a line drive, it doesn't even have to be a line drive to third. Everybody keeps saying, oh, a line drive to third base. It doesn't have to be a line drive to third base. If you're taking a big-time secondary lead and a line drive is hit back to the pitcher, to the shortstop, even maybe the second baseman, you're getting doubled off at third base in that situation. So when people sit there and they want to bitch and moan about Isaiah Kiner-Falefa and he should have done it, that's a pretty smart baseball player himself too. And I find it funny that people have no idea about baseball. And then they take numbers. Well, his average lead and his average speed. And it's like, bro, you're not thinking about that shit in the game. You have to you're thinking you're 90 feet away from winning the World Series. There's one out. All that guy needs to do is hit a fly ball to center field and the game is over and you win the World Series. Don't get picked off. That's what you have to do. On a ground ball to the infield, the majority of the time you're getting thrown out anyway. Nobody's talking about it like this because nobody knows it. Nobody's on the field. People that cover sports, you're not on the field. I'm on the field at 6 o'clock today. We're working on shit like this. Make sure you pay attention to who you're listening to. And people saying, oh, bad base runner. You want to get mad at base running? Look at the end of game 6. When Addison Barger got too far off the bag, Kike Hernandez comes in and doubles him off for second base. That is 10 times worse than what happened with Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. It looks worse because obviously it's game 7 in the World Series is right there. But you can't get doubled off in that situation. Now you understand it. You understand why you did that because you want to score on a single. You're down 2. And you're looking for anything, any kind of hit where you can score from second on a hit. So you're getting a bigger lead. You're getting a bigger secondary. But then you get thrown out at second base, and then the game's over. That's what people don't think about when they're talking about the Isaiah Kiner-Falefa thing. Now, should he have slid head first? Yes, but you don't see that very often on infield bang-bang plays. You don't. You don't practice that all that much, not even in the lower levels. I look at Varsho like, you got to hit the ball out of the infield. That's the thing. A ground ball to second base, not good enough. Situational hitting for the Blue Jays, not good enough. You have to be better in situations like that to be able to knock off the king. To be the man, you got to beat the man. You weren't good enough in game 6 and 7. That's it. That's it. I love the way Toronto played. I love the way that Ernie Clement just kept hitting and hitting and hitting. But when they needed their big guys to step up, they didn't. They didn't. Got to make the plays. The Dodgers made the plays. Miguel Rojas, a guy that hit, what was that, his first home run against a right-handed batter all year long, came up big, putting Pajes in the game. The ball that got stuck under the wall. Like, little things happen, man. You have to be able to roll with the punches. I thought Blake Snell threw his ass off. He could have lost that game. He didn't. He stuck with it. And it was great to see. And I know a lot of people kind of got upset about it after the game, after they win, and Blake Snell and Tyler Glasnow. And were you guys mad about that? All my Rays fans, you pissed about that? Blake Snell and Tyler Glasnow talking about, we tried to beat them. We couldn't beat them, so we joined them. I kind of like was a little bit of a needle there. But you feel good for those guys. And again, when you're in a position that I'm in, where you get to cover these teams and cover these players here locally, you get to understand how people are. Like, somebody asked me a couple of weeks ago, where was I? Oh, we were at lunch. We had a tournament out in Davenport. And I was out to lunch with a couple of people, and they asked me, like, what is Mike Evans really like? What's Baker Mayfield really like? Like, they want to know, because you root for these guys and you want them to be good dudes, right? And some people can say you can cover sports without being there and without being in the locker room. I guess you can, but you're not going to glean some of the same stuff as when you're in there and you're being able to talk with the players. Does anybody else, that covers the media here in the Tampa Bay area know what J.J. Moser's like? Do you know what Braden Point is like if you're not in that locker room all the time? Ed Encina can tell you. Eric Erlinson can tell you. DeAndre Luke can tell you. Do you really know what Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield are like if you're not there? Rick Stroud can tell you. Greg Allman can tell you. Scott Reynolds can tell you. Do you really know how some of these Rays guys are? Well, a guy like Mark Topkin can tell you. When you're around Blake Snell, when you're around Tyler Glasnow, two of the best dudes that I've gotten a chance to cover. Two of the best guys. So one of my parents asked, and they go like, "What, Mike Evans, Baker Mayfield?" I tell them straight up, Mike Evans, always been great to me. Always. Such a phenomenal human being on and off the field. Baker, it's a little bit more of a, and it's like that with quarterbacks in the NFL. There's a little bit more of a, you talk to him every Wednesday or Thursday. You talk to him after every game. But you don't really like saddle up next to him and kind of shoot the breeze. It's not the same. It's not the same for like that, where you could do that with a Jamel Dean. You do that maybe you could definitely do that with Tristan Wirfs. You could definitely do that with a Graham Barton. It's different with the quarterback in the NFL, just the way it goes. You can do that with Darren Radish. You can do that with J.J. Moser and Hetty and McDonough, right? It's different. But I got a lot of love for Tyler Glasnow. I got a lot of love for Blake Snell. Good for those guys. Lightning hockey, I want to talk about that, but I'll give you this, Chris Cole, thoughts on WWE Saturday night. Big move going with Jade Cargill in such a dominating dominating fashion over Tiffany Stratton. That's that they're ready. That's what they're saying. She's ready to be the face of WWE. So good for her. Jey Uso, I think he needs some time away, because I feel like the entrance is great, but when you talk about Jey Uso right now, the ring work is just not crisp. It's sloppy, man. The neck breaker that Punk tried to give him, and he kept going, and then Punk kicked him in the head. It was eerily reminiscent of when HBK and Vader, go look at that. It wasn't good, and those guys are friends. They need something to freshen that scene up. Love the Drew McIntyre, Cody Rhodes. That was a pretty good match. Would have loved to see Drew win the title there, and maybe Cody wins it back, but then you kind of get into the same habit of what you got with the Cena. You lose, you drop it. The belt's got to mean something. And then the IC match was great. I think Dominic Mysterio is one of the greatest things in wrestling right now. He's just so great and so funny and he's so athletic, and ringing the bell, with the hammer, like, that's just good stuff. Really short card, but yeah, we'll see. I like the announcement with Cena. The final 16 guys will have a tournament to see who's going to wrestle him. Would love to see Edge. Would love to see names that nobody's talking about. Joe Hendry. Yeah, okay. I think that's kind of the shine's worn off a little bit on Joe Hendry too, but say his name and he'll appear. And we keep seeing that with NXT. And we saw him get the rub as well at WrestleMania from Randy Orton. So there's a lot of love there. So wouldn't be surprised as well. All right, let's talk some Lightning hockey before our good buddy Ian Beckles joins us. Listen, you go into a place like Utah They're playing some good hockey. They really are, led by our guy, Mikhail Sergachev and Cooley. And when you have to win games like that, you have to play an honest game. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing that defensive structure that we saw last year. Now, is there room for improvement? No doubt. No doubt about it. But you're seeing some of these guys step up. What a passing play for that Gord goal. Gord, Lilleberg, that was sweet. Gensel, Sorelli, like you need these guys to be able to step up in a big way if you're going to, I mean, just think about some of the teams that they've already beaten this year, right? Like you beat Vegas, you beat Utah. You're beating some of the better teams, this year. You have to play the game in a way where you're not going to be able to outskate everybody and outscore everybody. That's what the Lightning need to do to get back to playing that way where you can win a 1-0, a 2-1 game, or a 5-4 game. And I think that fourth line has really set everything into motion. When you have Yanni Gord, you have Pontus Holmberg, and you have Zemgus Girgensons, and now you can deploy those guys to start the periods. You can put them out there when you're ahead, when you're behind, when you just gave up a goal, when you just scored a goal, because you know what you're going to get. And I was worried, I was concerned that Yanni Gord was going to be playing on the third line. And I love Yanni, but for him to be at his best and for him to be able to warrant that long contract, he's got to be the fourth line center for the next 5 years. Sit him there, stay there, and let it go. Fourth line center, boom. Cycle the wingers. He can play the wing if you want. That's great. Put him on the penalty kill. That's great. We know what he's going to give you every single night. And everything he gives you offensively is a bonus. You can't sit there and bank on Yanni Gord scoring goals. That's not a recipe for success. He's never been that player. Nobody cared. Nobody can tell me right now, like, oh, Yanni had this many goals when he was with Coleman and Goodrow. Nobody cared. It wasn't about that. It was about being hard to play against. And now he's on the line where he's giving you those similar vibes that he gave you when he was a third line center. And now you're going to see Nick Paul here in the next week or two, which is big. I love what I've seen from Dominic James. You're looking at guys like Gage Gonsalves. All right, buddy. When Nick Paul comes back, what does that mean for Gage? Because you're seeing Sorelli step up. You're seeing Gensel step up. Hagel's played much better. So when I watch this team, they're starting to figure out their identity. And that's something that Ian and I have spoke about a lot when it comes to the Buccaneers. What's their identity? What can they hang their hat on? And when you're talking about hockey, it's got to be defensively, because you have the guy between the pipes that is as good as anybody. On any given day, number 88 is going to be the best player on the ice. And with that being said, he didn't even play yesterday. It was Jonas Johansson to go into Utah to win that game. Utah's been one of the teams that a lot of people were talking about this season. Look at how good they're going to be. The big contract to Cooley, the 10-year deal. Mikhail Sergachev leading the way. The Mammoth. And the Lightning go in there and they win that game. So for all those people that were looking at the standings and wondering, oh, what's going on with John Cooper? Could this be the end for John Cooper? Really? Really? Come on, folks. They're sitting right now in third place in the Atlantic Division. Canadians and Red Wings tied for first with 18 points. The Lightning, one of three teams with 14 points. They are right in there. Right in there. They're on a 5-game winning streak. They're 6-2-2 in their last 10 games. I feel pretty good about the Tampa Bay Lightning. And the reinforcements are coming. Crozier, Nick Paul. Start looking around and go, okay, just keep playing the game the right way. And you're going to have to be honest tomorrow night because you know what lies ahead. Colorado Avalanche, 9:30 tomorrow night on TNT. You got Nathan McKinnon flying down one wing. You got Cale Makar flying down the other wing. You don't want to get into a shootout with those guys. Play the game the right way. You go into Colorado, you win that game against the Avs, and people really start taking notice. Maybe you wrote off the Lightning a little bit too soon. It's still very early when it comes to hockey, man. It really is. You start thinking, oh, this team's done. And I know you look at the standings just last week, and you saw the Bruins, the Panthers, and the Maple Leafs, and the Lightning all at the bottom. You're like, what the hell is this? And now all of those teams either have 13 or 14 points. Very tightly grouped Atlantic Division. I think the demise of the Lightning, well, that's probably a little bit too soon, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's bring him in. It's time for our weekly visit with our good pal, the great 20th century philosopher, Ian H. Beckles. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Going on this fine Monday.
Oh, nothing much, my man. How was the Halloween weekend at the Dignitary Cafe?
It was cool. We had some people here dressed up. Tom Ponzo was dressed up like Ali, which was disturbing.
Oh, God.
But other than that, it was a good little flow. We had a good weekend.
Is there a picture of that, or did you burn it? Oh my God.
I trying to get it out of my mind.
Oh my
But I'm sure there's a
God.
picture somewhere. I'm sure. I'm gonna send one to you.
Oh my! I saw the picture of Bert with his crew.
Yeah, Bert and the fellas, his posse.
His posse. His
Yeah.
posse. What did you do when you were playing? What was the bye week like for you, man? What was it? Were you guys there at all? How many days did you have off? What was the bye week like when you were playing?
Every year is different, but the unfortunate part is every coach that I had didn't really treat the bye week as a bye week. They just treated it as another week. And like I heard stories of different teams playing games on Sunday and then the coach say, "See you next Monday." I couldn't imagine. I mean, I couldn't imagine being a week off. And as a guy who was always injured, I was always injured. When I look back, there was not a time where I was ever not injured. I would be in there getting treatment anyways and probably watching film. Like I hear people leaving town and stuff like that. That's not really what I'm about. But I wasn't with teams that gave us much of a break, that's for sure.
We saw Baker Mayfield and Tristan Wirfs at the Lightning game last Thursday night, which was pretty crazy. Well, what can you say about that relationship? And I know you don't know like all the intricacies of it, but I mean, how important is that? That your star quarterback and your best player, they've been tight since day one, Beck. I mean, how much do you think that has helped kind of Baker just assimilate himself to not just the Buccaneers, but the Tampa Bay area as a whole?
Well, I'm with you, Jay. I don't know if it helps, but I tell you what, it can't hurt.
Yeah,
I mean, to me, like I hung around with Rodney Peete when I was in Philadelphia. He wasn't obviously Baker Mayfield at the time, and I wasn't Tristan Wirfs by any means. But just having that relationship, and when you're playing, and it's you're looking at your boy that you hung out with in their eyes, it's just a different feel. And to play with people that you don't know at all, it can work, but it doesn't feel the same. You know what I mean? I think if you have, there's a brotherhood there, and I'm talking about within the offensive line, within that group. And listen, we used to hang out with Vinny, on Friday nights. He used to come and hang out with me and Tony and a couple of the other linemen. So Vinny was real cool. It didn't equate to many wins, but
Right.
it did equate to me saying that me and Vinny were boys, and that was my people.
When's the last time you talked to Vinny?
Probably a couple of years ago. Vinny's a different dude to where, first of all, he looks the same, which is weird. And he just doesn't like the limelight. Like I've literally begged him a couple times to come on the show, and he just doesn't want to do it. He's like, nah, it's not my thing, Beck. It's all good. But I go, I love you, but that's just not my thing. And I have the utmost respect for him because I don't see him popping up anywhere else. So it's all good.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, you just mentioned Rodney Peete. Do you know the story about their son?
The autistic one?
Yeah.
I knew they had an autistic son. I don't know. I mean, they've done a lot of stuff for autism throughout the year, for sure.
He's a clubhouse attendant for the Dodgers.
I did not know that, no.
Yeah, he's with the Dodgers. Like, he got a World Series ring. Like, they were saying that I just saw the story the other day. It was only part of it. And it was talking about how, like, he knew every single away team, every single lineup. Like, he was just like, he's such a big helper to all the players, and the Peets were like super happy. And now, when I saw that story, I was thinking of you, and they won another World Series, and they said how like he's 28 years young, and he's such a big help for the clubhouse attendants. That's pretty cool, man.
Well, listen, you've heard me talk about a lot of players, Jay, throughout the years. And Rodney was my people. I've had conversation with Rodney. Rodney was bigger than his play. And I knew that. I felt it. Like Rodney Peete has rock star, he just to sum up as an aura as a rock star. He really does. And I met Holly twice. And I've told this story. I don't think I've ever met a nicer person. Like Holly, to be on 21 Jump Street and hanging with Mr. Cooper and all these different things, she's gorgeous. I met Holly twice. My ex-wife was like, oh my God, is she nice? And if I call Rodney, She'll be like, "Hey, Ian, how are the kids? How is Dale? Tell him I say hi. Call this number. If Rodney's not there, make sure you call me back because I want you to talk to me. He likes you." Blah, blah. And I'm just like, "Holly, you're the best." And then just,
Right.
they deserve to succeed because they're both good people.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. And speaking of succeeding, I feel like the Buccaneers, in a way, they kind of won this weekend. They didn't even play. I mean, you look at what Atlanta, what's the Falcons, man, missing extra points. I mean,
Yeah.
the Falcons are such a weird team. And listen, you give the Panthers credit. You know, they were able to win a tough game. I don't know if anybody had Carolina going to Green Bay to win that game, but yeah, no, a lot of people did not. I think what does that say about the Panthers? Is it more about the Panthers or the Packers in that game, Beck?
Panthers.
Yeah.
It's always about the winning team. Because going into the game, we were saying, like, I'm on Mike Calter show, we pick every week. Nobody picked the Panthers. Nobody. Right. So the Panthers to go into Green Bay and beat them, that's about the Panthers. That's about a football team that doesn't give a shit. And like they're listening. They're watching the NFL today and all this stuff. Nobody picking them. And they've won maybe, there was 3 out of 4 or 4 out of 5 before that. And they're thinking, well, why aren't they watching us? Because we're playing pretty darn good ball. If you're in Carolina, you should be disrespected that you're not getting some respect. And we know it's the Carolina Panthers, so we're not scared, but she's winning 4 out of 5 games is hard at any time of the season, at any point. So if you can win 4 out of 5 games, I think that's what they are right now. You got to be putting something together because you can't fake that. It's too much winning.
What does it say when you go into a place like Green Bay and your quarterback throws for freaking 100 yards and you're still able to win that game?
It means you're a good football team.
Yeah.
There's no other way around that. Okay, if you run the ball average and you play average defense and your quarterback pass for 100 yards, well, Jay, you should tell me, you're a Giants fan. It doesn't turn out that well sometimes. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Right. So, like Danny Dimes, okay, today is the perfect day to talk about Danny Dimes. Okay, watch me. He's with the Giants. He has to win games. He looks like garbage. He goes to the Colts. They run the ball down everybody's throat. They play hella defense. When a game comes where they don't run the ball well, did you watch the game?
Yeah.
He looked just like he did with the Giants.
Yeah.
So there's very few quarterbacks that are able to take over. Mahomes and Allen, we watched them. They can do it. Danny Dimes can't do it. Sam Darnold can't do it. I'll be honest with you. Not sure Baker Mayfield is that guy. There's only a couple, 3 of those guys. Baker played that well for first few weeks, but as a whole, he's not that guy. He still needs a lot of help around him. And listen, so does Allen and so does Mahomes, but they're creating a lot of that by themselves.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I want to ask you about the Falcons too. Like, them losing that game, it just... The same thing. I feel like it's the complete opposite of what we talked about earlier this year with the Bucs when we're trying to find their identity. We're like, what's the identity with the Bucs? And it was just like, they just find a way to win games. I feel like the Falcons are the opposite. They just find a way to lose games. Drake London was phenomenal yesterday. You could argue that he may have had the best individual day out of anybody in the National Football League, but they just find a way to lose games. What does that come down to, Beck? Is that the personnel? Is it the coaching? Is it the culture? Like when you look at something like that, when a team just finds a way to lose, where does the finger of blame go towards?
Well, Jay, when you're in a situation where it's pivotal, all right, and if say you're with the old New England Patriots and you're down by 28 points in the Super Bowl, if say the Falcons were down 28 points against New England, that game's over, right? Mm-hmm. But if you look over and you see Bill Belichick and you see Tom Brady, that game ain't over, okay? So having some success and being there, done that, goes a long way. Even with the Buccaneers, you look around, you see Levante David, you see back then Tom Brady, you're seeing Mike Evans. These are guys that know what it's about. You were saying about the Lightning earlier when I was listening to you, how, people were ready to give up on Coop. Really? I mean, really? So right. You're going to go 20 straight years of being great, then all of a sudden he doesn't know how to coach? Mike Tomlin, how the Pittsburgh Steelers keep winning? That's what he does. The defense is playing like crap. He chews them out, and they look like world beaters yesterday. Mm-hmm. And when you see a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers who don't need a quarterback to go off, that means the rest of the team is good. But winning is hard, Jay, because you can outplay a team and lose. 3 straight weeks. That happens. We see it. The Falcons they played great yesterday and lost. But now, what you did in a game that you lost and played great, it's eliminated. It doesn't count. Like if you win that game, you can use the momentum. The fact you lost that game, it's going to be a detriment going into the next game because everybody's going to be all tight, and playing tight is never good.
Patriots 7-2 against the Buccaneers 6-2. That's going to be a hell of a game next week.
Yeah,
I mean, who would have saw that coming? Are you surprised that it's worked out so well for the Rodgers and the Steelers?
Once again, I don't think Rodgers is the reason. Like I watched their games. He's playing okay. Like Rodgers is Brady at the end, like the last year. Like to me, they're the same player. He gets the ball out uber quick. If his guys don't make a bunch of big plays, he doesn't really get the ball down the field. When they play good defense and run the football, they win. You can win with Aaron Rodgers, but he's not going to carry anything at this point. I don't get shocked anymore because I think if you put Aaron Rodgers on the Arizona Cardinals, I think we're just saying how old he is. I mean, that's real.
Yeah, and it just shows you that there's so many things in football that have to work in concert for you to be a successful team. And you look at the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, you have such. I mean, Joe Flacco, man. It's why is he? It's so hard to play quarterback, and you see so many backup quarterbacks. And why does how can a guy like Joe Flacco just go in there? He picks up the offense so quick wherever he ends up going in. Oldest guy to throw for 470 yards. How does that happen, Beck? He makes it look a lot easier than it should.
Well, I've told you before, Jay, that if I was able to play when I was 40 and you gave me the body I had when I was 25, I'd be a bad son of a bitch. I mean, because of my knowledge. The fact that Flacco is still able to physically play, God, he's so ahead of everybody, man. Just think of how many times Joe Flacco was lined up and looked at cover 2 or cover 3 or cover 4 or whatever it may be. I mean, we're talking about tens of thousands of times.
Right.
So when you see something tens of thousands of times, it's going to be hard to trick somebody. I tell people when you play somebody in chess that's been playing their whole life, they can make you look bad, okay? And you know what is hard to do? It's hard to have little intricacies that are going to confuse Joe Flacco because he's seen it. Like at the end of my career, I told you this before, Jay. At the beginning of my career, I was watching film. I'm like, what's happening? What's my guy doing? And by the end of my career, I'm looking up. I'm looking where the safeties are. I'm looking where the corners are. I'm looking where the will linebacker is. I'm looking where my defensive tackle's lined up because of all the years of processing why people are certain places. And John Gruden instilled this in me, rest in peace, to learn how to read defenses, okay? And it helped. Okay, if you know a guy's not coming because it's not possible, why do you even look out there? So you're making everything better. So to me, it's recognition and play somebody in Madden that's been playing their whole life. And if somebody knows football, if they pick up Madden for the first time, they'll get killed because it's about knowing, it's feeling, different things like that. So Flacco's been there and done that, but I would have him. Flacco can win a Super Bowl with the right. If you put Flacco on the Pittsburgh Steelers, whoa, I tell you what.
That'd be pretty crazy. Somebody was asking me before they said the Indiana Beckles look pretty damn good. I don't know what's going to happen week in, week out when it comes to college football. I feel like I know what Ohio State's going to be about. I feel like Indiana's in that same breath, man. I mean, what is it like to be able to watch that team knowing every week, like they're going to come out there and they're just going to play the game the right way? And I looked up, it was 20-3. I'm like, what the hell's up with these guys?
Well, I looked up and it was 3-0 Maryland. Okay. And, no, I'm serious. I go look and somebody goes, oh, Maryland's up. And I go, watch. But I don't like that, Jay. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm stupid cocky because people like they're playing Maryland. I'm like, nah. I've never done that. You know, Jay. I mean, I'm a guy, like, you have to prove it to me. Maryland's not beating Indiana. They're just not. They're not. Like, could Ohio State beat Indiana? Of course. Okay. But, when you're looking at Indiana, they're at a point. Last year when I was watching Indiana, that wasn't this. Okay. Last year, I'm like, they're good. But I watched them play Michigan. They barely beat Michigan. They got beat in the trenches. I watched them play Ohio State. They got outmanned. This ain't that team, dude. I'd be shocked if somebody outmans this team. They're well coached. They're where they're supposed to be. And like the Pittsburgh Steelers I saw yesterday, these son of a bitches are flying around the field. Like, like to have something to prove. I tell you, it's a lot. It's a lot of fun. I've never been here before, but I'm enjoying it.
And they even put Mendoza's little brother in yesterday, which
Unbelievable.
was pretty funny too. How's
Unbelievable.
the college football stream going? I was watching the other day a little bit.
Actually, while we're talking about Indiana, I've been playing NCAA football for a couple of years now since it came back out. I remember playing it back in the day against Santana Dotson and stuff like that. That's how long ago that was. But I'm back in NCAA 26, and you can go to Ian Beckles' show on YouTube, and I actually stream. And last year, obviously Indiana wasn't that good, and Alabama was good, so I really latched down to Alabama, and then I learned their playbook. So when this year started, at first I was like, I'm gonna play Indiana. So I started to play Indiana, and the fact I didn't know their playbook, so I'm like, this is not working for me. So I went back to Alabama, started the stream, and then I was like, you know what? I think I know enough to where I can learn another playbook. Then I started playing Indiana. At that time, I was winning about 50% of my games, maybe. Went back to Indiana. Bro, I've been killing people with Indiana. I think I'm winning like 10 and losing 2 now. So
Nice.
I switched to Indiana. It feels better. And
Yeah.
I like to see my boys winning, though.
Hey, I got to ask you about the Jaden Daniels injury last night because, a lot of people say, I can't believe he was in the game at that time. He got hurt last night. He's probably out for the year. Dislocated left elbow. He's definitely out for the year. 7 minutes, 39 seconds left. They're losing 38-7. And people are wondering why he was in the game at that time. Now, you're down 31, 7.5 minutes left. Chances of coming back are pretty slim. But I always think it's very easy for people to say, oh, why was he in the game? These guys are competitors. They want to be out there. I see both sides, right? Because we saw it last year when the Buccaneers went to LA, they played the Chargers, and in a similar situation, Jim Harbaugh's like, dude, wave the white flag. Like, Herbert, get the hell out. Like, we got nothing. They were down. It was a similar score, similar time, and he was just like, we ain't coming back. There's no reason to risk my star quarterback. Where do you fall? Because I can see both sides of it. I can see, why is he out there for meaningless snaps? But then you look at the other side, it's like, are there really meaningless snaps for a guy that's in his second year that is really still learning?
Well, I'm glad you said that last part, Jake. If you had to guess, which side do you think I'm on, Jay?
That he's got to play.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
There's starting linemen in there. There's starting tight ends in there. There's starting receivers in there. If your quarterback steps out, that ain't Baker Mayfield, is it? So I wouldn't want Daniels to want to come out. First of all, he's in his, like you said, he's in his second year. Before he got hurt this season, wasn't playing that great. Didn't play great in this game. You ain't taking me out. I'm trying to get better. We have 7 points in the whole game. I want to figure out a way to get 21 points so we have some momentum going into next week. I don't ever want to hear somebody complain about somebody being in a sporting event anymore. Stop it. Stop it. I was in the games at the end of ass kickings, get my ass kicked the whole 9 yards. I never even asked to come out. It's not a thing. Football players don't. Peyton Manning never came out. He never came out. He'd be up 40 points. He's still trying to carve. Come on now. Let's stop this. It happens every time somebody gets hurt. Why was he in the preseason game? To get better. Why was he in the fourth quarter? To get better. It's no deeper than that.
So you don't want to hear Jaden Daniels should have been out of that game?
Absolutely not. I think people that say that, you've only competed to a certain level because people who compete don't come out. They don't want to come out, and they almost can't get them out.
But do you see the other
leadership to me?
Do you see the other side too, though? Like when,
unfortunately, not for me. Unfortunately, not. Because listen,
because it's easy to say that, right, Beck? Because it's easy to say that after an injury, right?
Watch me. Didn't I just talk about the Super Bowl with Atlanta?
Yeah.
Wasn't that the same situation that Washington was in?
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Well, they also had a whole half. They had a whole half to be able to come back.
But I'm just saying. Listen, what if they took Tom Brady out and they're down? You know what I'm saying? I mean, he doesn't want to go out. He's a spiritual leader. He doesn't want to go out. He shouldn't want to go out. He should be, hell no, I'm not leaving my people. No, absolutely not.
And you think, I just think a lot of people that they don't know any better, right? They just they get into a situation like, oh, I would have taken him. We're hearing that a lot about baseball. Like, oh, I would have done this or I would have done that. Like, it's easy to say that shit from your couch. You don't know that. You've never been in situations. They're talking about the base running mistakes and this guy didn't get off the bag far enough. I'm like, bro, you don't know what the coach was telling him. You don't know what the coach was saying. Don't get off the base because we don't want you to get doubled off. Like, it's a lot easier to sit on the sidelines and, have this big 20,000-foot view on sports, especially when you've never been in that situation, right?
Well, Jay, I think once again, I think I'm pretty consistent because you remember when Kevin Cash kept Snelling, and
He
then
took him out. He took him out. He took him out.
Took him out. Sorry, took him out.
Yeah.
I always say this: there had to have been 20 factors going
Right.
into Kevin Cash taking him out. You're just looking at the results, okay? So you can question any choice that's made the whole game. You could question who started at every position, but we don't do that. Only when you think it affects the results. Kevin Cash did the same thing he did all year, and it worked 70% of the time. So you're going to do something that works 30% of the time? I concede to people who know what the hell they're doing. The Washington coaches know that Jaden Daniels needs more work. They know that, and they know that they haven't developed any swag. They had a little swag last year. They have no swag right now, so you better figure out a way to find it, or else you're not going to win a bunch of games.
What was how'd Chambo do Friday?
Yeah. If you would have told me before the game what's the line on the game against Leonard, here's an example. We lost to Spoto by about 20-something points, and Leonard beat Spoto 56-0. All right.
Oof.
So if you would have asked me what was the score going to be, I would have said Vegas would probably say 50-6. That's what I would probably say. We lost 20-0.
Okay.
And at the end of the game, I think that's a better football team than us because I'm realistic.
Yeah.
But I do also think we can win that game. Like there was a couple we were on the 1 yard line on first down and we get a freaking delay of game penalty, get back, we get another penalty, and like this we just did dumb stuff and we just didn't capitalize on a couple of big plays we had, and they did. And the big plays that they had, we were there to stop them, and then one of our better players didn't make a play. So you got to take your hats off to them. Fortunately.
What's your take on silver linings and moral victories in sports?
I think.
Let me phrase it. Let me phrase it a little different because I've had this conversation. I had this conversation with Alex Golish, and he's like, "Jay, there's no such thing as silver linings," and I'm like, I think it all has to do with perspective. I think when you're a team that has aspirations to win bowl games and you have to win national championships, I think sometimes silver linings and moral victories can be a cop-out. However, if you're a team that's on the rise, if you're a team that's struggling for victories and you're not getting real victories, bro, silver linings to me denote progress. And it shows that, if you're a team that's clearly not as good as some of the competition that you're facing, bro, if you don't take some of the positives out of that game, then it becomes the ritual and the practice becomes mundane. And I think sometimes you lose the love and you don't want people tapping out for that. So I think if you are a team that, like for high school, if you have state title aspirations and you're telling me there's no such thing as silver linings, you don't have moral victories, that's fine. But if you're a team that, you're getting shut out, or you're a team that like, hey, you're looking for litmus tests, you're looking for measuring stick games, I think there is room. And I don't think that's a sign of weakness. What do you think?
Well, that's a deep question, first of all. And you can have a lot of different answers. When we took over Chamberlain, they hadn't won a game in 2.5 years. All right. So we won 7-3 last year and 7-3 this year. So obviously we've leaps and bounds, we've improved. But as somebody who understands the game of football, and when I look and I evaluate, sometimes teams are better than us. All right. Sometimes Jefferson has 60 players and they got JV team and we got 28 players. And it's just, we're not that, okay? So a lot of times it comes down to that. So, playing Leonard tough says that we're not far from them. But the unfortunate part is next year's a whole new year.
Right.
And then we got a bunch of new seniors. and they may get more seniors. I don't know. So it doesn't necessarily mean you're getting better. Now, if you go back to my 6th year in the NFL which would have been Tony Dungy's first year. I mean, we started off getting our wig split, and by the end of the year, I think we were like 7-9. The last few games, those victories, they weren't just victories. I'm just telling you, and you've heard them talk about going to San Diego. I wasn't part of those conversations. I was on the offense trying to figure out ways to win, but with Trent Dilfer, I wasn't part of Hall of Famers talking about being great. Okay, but I did see that we were taking steps because I was here for years when the Bucks didn't win out west at all, ever, or under 40 degrees, or this or that. So to go to San Diego and beat a pretty good team in their house clearly showed me that we were taking steps, okay? But once again, it's just about you're taking baby steps, baby steps. Season's over. You're 7-9. Now, what's your mentality? Now, there's teams that go 7-9 almost every year and never really take that step up, but unfortunately for their fans. I think it helps to have a Tony Dungy, have a Signetti, whoever it may be, who's teaching this is the way it's going to be. When we start doing it this way, we're going to win. And I've never been around anybody who said to a team, once we start doing this, we're going to start to win. And immediately we started to win. I've never been around that. And Tony Dungy was that guy for me.
Derrick Brooks joins me at 1:40 today. He's the new COO of Athletics for USF. What do you think about that appointment for South Florida, bringing in Derrick Brooks?
Well, I went to the hockey game on Thursday because of Derrick Brooks. He hooked me up with the Lightning Suite tickets. Thank you, Derrick.
Nice.
One love. I'm up in there eating Chilean sea bass and ribeye and lobster tails and whatnot. You know how we slum it, you know.
Wow.
So, and so I'm up there talking to all the executives. Vinny LeCavier was up there. He didn't recognize me for the 40th time.
He's that guy.
No, he is that guy. But I'm talking to a lot of executives. Some people approached me that knew and listened to our show and different shows, and they're like, hey, what do you think about Derrick? And I'm like, I mean, good for him, but I didn't realize that he's really leaving Amalie. You know what I mean? Like, he's always going to probably be part of it, but he's kind of leaving Amalie and becoming a bigger part of USF. And if you're asking me about the signing, I don't know if anybody in the history can replace Leroy Selman, but if you want somebody and who could come close to Leroy Selman, my choice would be Derrick Brooks. And I was saying the other day, I think I'm as football as anybody in Tampa Bay because of all the entities that I dealt with. And I dealt with more entities than Derrick Brooks, okay, in football. Okay, no doubt about that. But I'm not more football than Derrick Brooks. I'm just not. I know I'm not because his name is synonymous with football in Tampa Bay area. So I think it's a perfect pick. I think it's a perfect pick. If Derrick Brooks comes in your living room, Derrick Brooks in Florida, I think that's pretty effective.
Where do you think USF is going to end up? What conference? Where would you like to see him?
Can I be honest?
They got to be. They got to be in the big one.
I don't know what conference they're in now. I know
they're in the
Big
American.
Ten. I know the Big Ten because there's 48 teams in the Big Ten, and I know the SEC because it's here. That's all I know. I'll be honest with you. So if it's not the SEC or Big Ten, I'm going to say this: does it matter?
I think if they go in the ACC and you build a rivalry with Miami and Florida State, and then on the basketball side, Duke and North Carolina, like that's a step up from where they're at right now, back where people don't even know what conference they're in.
I agree with that. But if you go to the ACC, the American, you got to go undefeated. ACC, you can't lose more than one game. Okay, and that's just the way it's going to be, and the competition is going to be better. And I think that always benefits the football team because if I'm a recruit. Because I hear people saying, well, maybe Signetti goes to Penn State or maybe Signetti. Why the hell would he want to go anywhere? He can't get better recruits in Penn State than he can in Indiana. It's the same place.
Right.
And they're playing in the same conference. So it's a big deal when you're playing Clemson's and teams like that as opposed to Cincinnati's. You know what I mean? That is a big deal.
Beck, what do we got going on at the Dignitary Cafe this week, my friend?
Same old. Just a great place for people to hang out and hang loose. And, we like easygoing people here, Jay. You know how we do. It's just a place for with people who don't drink alcohol, don't like to be around people that are drunk, and I'm certainly that guy. Dignitary Cafe, you drink you some kava and some kratom, and we're 420 friendly, and we're very, very peaceful here. We're very peaceful.
4817 Southwest Shore Boulevard at Ian Beckles Show on Instagram. Check out the stream as well on YouTube.
Yeah.
He joins us every Monday at 12:30. And, of course, we have the Beckles and Recher podcast every Wednesday at 3:15 as well. Beck, appreciate it, my friend. I'll talk to you on Wednesday.
One love, kid.
See you, buddy. The great Ian Beckles. A lot of good stuff today. I was wondering, like, before we got in, it's like, man, what are we going to talk about today? We have plenty to get into today with no Buccaneers game, but Bucs and Patriots. Excuse me. Long weekend. Not really, but it's just another weekend. Let me tell you about my friends over at Honest Hammer Custom Builders. These guys are the best, man. They really are. Pull up the website. There you go. TheHonestHammer.com, TheHonestHammer@gmail.com. Send them an email if you have any questions. You want to email them. 813-244-0956. Honest Hammer General Contractor Company, CGC 153116. They can help you out with all of your residential or commercial needs, interior kitchen renovations, bathroom renovations. You got a plot of land, you want a fresh build on it, they can help you out. Just a good dude altogether. You want to be able to trust the people that are working on your home, and I can't vouch for them enough. Again, new construction, commercial construction, interior structural renovations, kitchen, bathroom models, or a new custom home, they can help you out. Tell them that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. Get you a discount. They also have a discount for military, firefighters, police, nurses. Really, really good stuff, man. Really, really good stuff. TheHonestHammer.com. Tell them that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. They are the best. Just really, really good people all together, just like my pal Ian Beckles. But tell them that you heard it again right here on the Jay Recher podcast. Also, my friends over at Ever Health, and I was over there on Friday to take a look at my elbow and my knee and my ankle. I got a lot of stuff going on. Ever Health, going over there, hanging out with Dr. Rodriguez. He's such a smart guy, and all the discussions that we've had over the last couple of weeks to the Ever Health injury report, he's been able to help me out a lot as well. There's so many different services there: family medicine, pediatrics, dental, women's, behavioral health. I had a friend go over there the other day for some therapy for her daughter. Everhealth.org. Look at all the different things. There's 17 different locations in Pinellas County. You can schedule an appointment. Everybody's super friendly and helpful over there. I went over there on Halloween. It was so funny. Everybody was having such a good time. But yeah, I went to the High Point location. You can go to any of their 17 locations. And don't forget about the Ever Health Institute as well. If you are looking for a career, something in the medical field, they can help you out. Go to everhealth.org. They have all the information there. And again, tell them that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. All right, guys. Chris Cole got away from running the ball, and DJ responsible for all 5 turnovers. You got that right, buddy. Aishan, would you stick with Lamar Jackson or Matthew Stafford the rest of the season? For fantasy, I'm going Lamar Jackson, always because he has that running element, right? And if the Rams are still good, they're out in front, they're going to probably run the football. I mean, Stafford has a ton of quarterbacks right now. He has a ton of touchdowns right now. Stafford does. But you're not looking about what has happened in the past. You're trying to forecast what's happening in the future. I think Lamar is going to have to put the team on his back if they're going to make the playoffs. So I expect a huge attempt from Lamar for being the man in the second half. So I would rock with Lamar Jackson there for that one. Again, coming up at 1:40 today, our guy Derrick Brooks is going to join us on the program. We'll see if Bucky Irving will be back this week and be ready to go. That'll be fun. You got it, pal. Bucks defense or Rams defense? Man, I go with if it's close, I always go with the team you want to root for and the team you're going to watch. So if it's close, I always go with the Bucks. Huge news when it comes to USF. Again, Derrick Brooks joins us at 1:40 today, the new COO of Athletics. Make sure you tune into that one. Huge news when it comes to USF. Obviously, tip-off tonight, 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock, the women and the men from the Yingling Center. Go usfbulls.com. Go get your tickets. One ticket, get you 2 games. You can go check out Coach Michelle Woods-Baxter in her first game at the helm for USF women's basketball. Coach Brian Hodson in his first game leading USF men's basketball. It's a new era for hoops here in the Tampa Bay area, led by those 2 coaches tonight. Is going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you go out to the Yingling Center and get there if you can. And then also the big news earlier today that we heard that SportsCenter will be there at USF. SportsCenter on campus, set up outside the Marshall Student Center before the Bulls host UTSA at Raymond James Stadium. And if you don't know, it's kind of like a weekly, condensed version of College Game Day that they have every Saturday morning. But SportsCenter on campus pregame show broadcast live again from 2 to 3 from the plaza outside the Marshall Student Center, right smack dab in the middle of campus. ESPN anchor Matt Barry, members of the broadcast team, they're going to host the show. The program's going to feature an appearance by Alex Golish, crowd participation games, food and beverage giveaways, members of the Herd of Thunder Band, USF Spirit Squads, and Rocky the Bull will be in attendance. Students and fans are asked to gather in the plaza near the Bulls fountain outside the Marshall Center beginning at 1 o'clock. They're also telling students to bring creative signs, same that you see on Saturday morning game day broadcast. Really, really fun. And then also Matt Barry's going to host a special 5 p.m. edition of SportsCenter live from Raymond James Stadium. So USF being put under the spotlight, a beautiful thing that we want to see for our Bulls. We'll show them love as much as we can. As Skip's Value says, USF, USF, USF. You got that right. Out of Godwin, Luke, or Bucky, who do you think is closest to return? Probably Bucky. It's tough to tell. It really is. Because it's just, Godwin's injury is such a, dealing with that cracked fibula and knowing that you have to let that bone heal. Luke, it was kind of a lingering. He came back in. He got hurt. You don't want to rush him back. And we know with Bucky, he's dealing with the foot and dealing with the shoulder. But I think Bucky is getting closer because they didn't put him on the IR. So I'm going to go with Bucky. But we'll find out from the injury report later on this week. What record can the Bucks have in their next 3 games and still contend for conference first seed? I see 2-1 minimum. They're 6-2 right now. So if they're 6-2 at this point, and you're looking at the rest of the conference, I still think they can go 1-2, have a chance. Just because of looking at that back end of that schedule. And I know the Panthers are better than people have thought. But I look at the Bucks, 6-2. Even if they go 1-2 in the next 3 games, and they're still 7-4, I still think they'll be in the comfortable lead in the NFC South. You just don't know, right? The Detroit Lions look like they were world beaters, and then they lose to Minnesota. So now they're 5-3. You want to make sure that you're ahead. I don't think there's going to be any rivals in the NFC East for the Eagles. I don't trust the Cowboys, clearly. The Commanders look like Dookie last night. And then the Giants, God knows. I mean, it's only a matter of time before Joe Shane and Brian Daboll are, granted good luck in your future endeavors. That is definitely coming. We'll see. Watch, Cowboys going to roll tonight. They'll beat the snot out of the Cardinals. And everybody's like, look, the Cowboys are still in it. They're 4-1. All right, geez, with the Cowboys, right? But ideally, you would want them to go 2-1, but 1-2, I think they can make it happen. I think this game they must win. I don't look at any games as must wins, other than the ones that if you lose, you're out. And it's not. You would love for them to get the number 1 seed. I understand that, but what if they don't get the number 1 seed? What is like the season over? No, who cares? Just go out there and win the games that are in front of you. We know what's important. We know ideally you would want them to be able to rest. And if they do get a first week bye or first game bye, that would mean a lot for maybe a guy like Kalaji Kancey or maybe a guy like Mike Evans comes back. But if they don't, they don't. I mean, you got to win these games. You got to get healthy. That's the most important thing. You got to get healthy. All right, let's take a look at some of these other college games from over the weekend. And, man, I look at originally at that Miami game, losing to SMU 26-20. And I was one of those people. Just wait. I don't want to talk about Miami as like they're Carson Beck's terrible and all these different. Just wait. Got to give them some time. They look good. And no, they lose yet again. And it's the same old song and dance from Mario Cristobal and the Hurricanes. Puffing out your chest. Everybody thinks that, man, you got a shot. And now their college football playoff chances are so slim now. That's what happens when you play in the ACC, man. You lose games like this, you can't fight your way back up. Doesn't look good for the Hurricanes. I give the Gators credit. They fought their ass off against Georgia, 24-20. You look at DJ Lagway, and I was watching some of his footwork and listening to the broadcast in the game, and you could say all you want about Billy Napier, and you could put the blame on him for this all you want. I haven't seen the progression from DJ Lagway. The footwork, not being able to step up in the pocket, and some of that, does that come with a lack of blocking from the offensive line? Yeah, that has something to do with it, because hell, I saw CJ Stroud do it in week 2 against the Buccaneers. So I understand that, but him not taking a step forward has certainly hurt the progress of the entire team. I give Texas a lot of credit, and listen, I give Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt a lot of credit. The score I don't think was indicative of how this game wasn't as close. But Diego really tried to will this team back into it. Number 20, Texas wins 34-31 over Vanderbilt, and Arch Manning responding in a big way. And that's why we have to be careful. We have to be careful before we start writing these guys off, before we start thinking, I know what this guy's going to be all about. You don't. You really don't. You have no idea. And they were able to bounce back in a big way. And now Texas, again, I said this last week, you look at their resume and you're looking at the teams that they beat. And I know early on in the season, everybody had them at number 1 or number 2. And now you're watching Texas and you're going, yeah, I know it looked ugly there for a little while. And Arch looked like crap. But, man, now you look at their only losses. And I know the loss to Florida is terrible. But, 7-point loss to Ohio State, it's probably going to be the closest game they play in the regular season. And then you look at the wins over Oklahoma and Vanderbilt, and now you have the matchup with Georgia, and then in a couple weeks with Texas A&M. I mean, Texas kind of controls their own destiny because they only have one loss in the SEC, and it's to Florida. So those unbeaten teams in the conference you're just not seeing it as much. I look at A&M; they're the big prove it team to me. All right, A&M, big win at LSU, but now you have the matchup with Missouri, right, and then Texas. Those are your 2 big games. I'm not worried about the game against South Carolina. They're terrible. And the game against Samford, which is a gimme. These are the games. Like, if A&M, I think if they win both of these games, Missouri and Texas, probably looking at the number 2 team in the nation. I think they probably jump Indiana in those terms. But we'll see. You got to go out and win the game. That is for sure. Looking at some of the other games from the weekend that stood out to me. What's the other one? Oklahoma and Tennessee. All my Volunteer fans out there. Mateer's certainly not the same guy that we saw early on in the season where people were wondering if he was going to be that guy. And Oklahoma's still able to come away with this victory in this game. Now, and ironically enough, he used his legs to get that touchdown, running for 80 yards in that contest. But that was the de facto eliminator in the SEC, in my opinion. And I know Tennessee jumps up to the 7-0 lead, and you're looking at this game like, hey, you got to trust Aguilar. And took the lead in the third quarter, and then bouncing back in the fourth, always next year for Tennessee. They're just kind of an average team in the SEC. Good team, but just not good enough. Georgia Tech, this was the fly in the ointment that everybody was waiting for them to stumble, and they ended up losing. So they're undefeated no longer. 48-36 loss to Georgia Tech. And that one, I tell you what, I watched a good chunk of the Utah-Cincinnati game. Blowout, 45-14. I mean, you look at what Utah can do in the return game. I saw, when you look at this kid Carvalho with the punt return for a touchdown, and man, just watching them and listening to the way they talk and putting the emphasis and the pride on the special teams, Hell, man. I mean, Utah's one of those teams you just don't want to play. I don't want to play that team. 4-2 in the Big 12 now. Beating Cincinnati was their first loss in the Big 12. Watch out for Utah. You kind of forget sometimes these teams out in the West Coast, and you're like, I don't know how good they really are, right? You know Utah will play BYU, and you know they're playing in this matchup against Cincinnati, but it was nice to be able to sit down and watch them play. Fun ball game. And the College Game Day was there, and the fans were there all day long. They were there from 7, 8 in the morning, all the way until that game at night. I'm like, dude. And some of the fans, they said some of those fans didn't even sleep. I mean, that's pretty nuts, man. But that's dedication. That's college football. And that's what we want to see from our fans for USF this Thursday. SportsCenter, college action, ESPN, going to be there on campus. SportsCenter on campus, outside the Marshall Student Center, before the Bulls host UTSA on Thursday night. Get on out there. Get on out there at 1. They're going to be live from 2 to 3. Bulls 6-2 on the season, 3-1 in the American. Navy with that big loss. That was a huge loss. And now you look at the conference and you see all these teams in the American with 1 loss. All right, USF. And now it's in your hands. When you look at all these teams with 1 loss in the conference, there's 6 of them. Navy now at 5-1. Memphis at 4-1, North Texas at 4-1, Tulane at 3-1, South Florida and East Carolina both at 3-1. We know with the matchup this weekend against UTSA, we've seen them in the past with that offense. You never know. You don't want to take them lightly on Thursday night. And I know for sure Alex Golesh is going to be chomping at the bit after that loss to Memphis. And he said it today. I heard him that it took him a good 48 hours to get over that loss at Memphis. Now, whether that had to do with the decisions that he made, whether that had to do with just the team overall, this is an opportunity for US to kind of right the ship and win a game against UTSA that they should win. Then you look at the rest of their schedule. If you want to contend for a conference championship, this next game after this one, you go to Annapolis to take on Navy at 12 o'clock. You know they're going to run the football. Again, I'm not worried about UAB and Rice at the end of the year. They're 2-7 combined in the conference. But for all of the good vibes this year for USF, I was watching a story yesterday or reading a story yesterday, and they were saying like, oh, they could play in this bowl and this. And I'm just like, yeah. I mean, if they're playing in just a normal like bowl game that they would have played in, even if they were 7-5, that doesn't really move me after what this team was able to do. Back-to-back wins over 25 Boise State, over number 13 Florida, right? After going into North Texas and beating the snot out of those guys 63-36. If I'm USF, you got to take care of business on Thursday, but you're looking at that game next Saturday at Navy as one of the biggest games in the history of USF football. You got to go out there and win that game, man. You got to get to a conference championship game this year. No excuse, man. Go out there and win it. Byron Brown is there. You got all of these great players on the defense. You have, possibly getting some of these other weapons back offensively. South end zone net crew will be there. Go Bulls. But I look at what Alex Golesh and Byron Brown and the team has accomplished this year. It's not done. It's not done. And I remember back to a conversation that we had with Jim Lighthall, one of the voices of USF. And he said, as much as everybody's putting so much stock into the first 3 games of this season, Alex, the season starts with the conference play, and a conference championship is something that is well within reach for these Bulls. And I still feel the same way. But they're going to prove it next week. Again, don't overlook UTSA. But next Saturday, all eyes are going to be on USF and Navy. It's going to be an emotional game. You know that Michael Kelly's going to be there. Our pal Greg Wolf is going to be there. He's actually going to be on the sideline, which is going to be kind of cool. But I don't want to hear any excuses. Remember, we just had this conversation with Ian Beckles. What's going on, Louie? I see you, buddy. We just had this conversation with Ian Beckles about no moral victories, about no silver linings. Okay. All right. Well, that game next Saturday against Navy, there's no, well, we did enough. Or we could have done, no. No, sirree, Bob. Go out there and win that game. Now, you win that game, probably back in the top 25. Then when you're back in the top 25, now we're talking about a conference championship. Obviously, you got to take care of the other two games at the end of the schedule, but everything's right in front of them. They still control their own destiny, and that's what's exciting if you're a USF fan. A wild and wacky weekend in the NFL, that's for sure. And games were funny with no Buccaneer game. And we'll start off with Chicago and Cincinnati. So watching that game and going back and forth and seeing what Cincinnati was able to do. I mean, second straight week scoring at least 37, 38 points. What was it? 37 points, I think it was. And losing. Oh, your heart goes out to Joe Flacco and the Bengals offense. That defense, man. I don't look at Chicago that much different, right? I look at Cincinnati, and I know Ian said, like, oh, I look at the team that wins. I don't know about this one. This game, I look at the team that lost. Cincinnati, you got to stop somebody. I mean, come on. What is going on? You just have a couple. Think about it like this. The Bengals get 2 more stops. One last week, one this weekend. You're talking about a team that's 5-4. They're 5-4, and you're like, all right, well, maybe they got a chance to make the playoffs. 5-4 right now would have you you'd be tied. You'd be a game behind the Jags, half a game behind the Jags. You'd be tied with the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, damn, man, it's so crazy. But now you sit at 3-6. Every single year we talk about the Bengals, and I get it. Joe Burrow's injured. But it's just like, damn, every single year you have Chase, you have Higgins, and it's just never enough in the defense. You got rid of Lou Anarumo, and like the defense, what the hell are we doing? Resource after resource. You got to put it in the defensive side of the ball. You spend all this money on offense. I mean, I guess that's what happens, though, right? Everybody, oh, pay this guy, pay that guy. All right, fine. Well, when that happens, and then your defense is as poor as it was the last 2 years or 2 weeks, there's really no excuse. Chicago wins that game. What an incredible finish, too, with Caleb Williams, the Colston Loveland. That kid looks like a baller, doesn't he? Minnesota, Detroit, Vikings win that one 27-24. Detroit try to come back there at the end, but they lose by 3. And that's a big win for Minnesota. Be able to go in that game. I thought J.J. McCarthy stepped up in a big way. Obviously, he's not, when you look at it and you look at the numbers, they probably not going to wow you, but 143 passing yards, but 2 touchdowns, runs for another one. And watching that game, it's 2 good football teams, man. 2 good football teams. I love the throw to Jameson Williams at the end of the game. You're like, damn, man, the Lions are just not out of it. They're not out of it. When you have 2 well-coached, that's what's going to happen. And we saw it last year in the battling for that number 1 seed. When you have Kevin O'Connell on one side with Brian Flores on the defense and Dan Campbell on the other, as long as those 2 guys are the head coaches, I feel like this is just going to be a battle year in, year out, whether the game's in Detroit, Minnesota. They're going to play with the regular season on the line. I wouldn't be surprised if they play in the playoffs. Like, that's good football. And I think it's one of those rivalries that could be climbing up the charts as well. I always love it. I always love it and enjoy watching those 2 teams go at it. Green Bay and Carolina, the biggest upset probably of the weekend. Carolina goes in there, wins on a last-second field goal. Rico Dowdle, for my money, could be the best running back in football like right now. And I'm not saying he's better than Bijan or Christian McCaffrey, Saquon. I get it. But I'm talking about like a hot level. He's scorching right now. You can say whatever you want about Chuba Hubbard and you think he's a good pro and blah, 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 whatever. Rico Dowdle, when he touches the ball, man, he is magnetic. He is electric. That guy can run the hell out of the football. And now Carolina, 5-4. It's not going to be such a tough, easy putt, when the Buccaneers play this team. Dave Canales has done a really good job. These guys believe in themselves. We've always heard Baker Mayfield call them the optimist, called Dave Canales the optimist bully. He just does a lot of good things. And when you're a guy like that, you're going to put pieces around you that have that same type of mindset. So not really a surprise with Carolina. Surprised that they have a much better record than Atlanta? I don't think so. When you look at it, excuse me, when you look at a guy like Raheem Morris, do I trust a guy like Raheem? No, I don't. No, I don't trust him as a head coach. He's had issues when he was with the Bucks, and now with Atlanta, they always seem to be a team that is underperforming and losing games that they should win. And you're having incredible performances from Drake London, and it just doesn't matter. I'd rather have a team where you look at the quarterbacks play and you look at what happened with Bryce Young and you win an ugly game. I'd rather win an ugly game than lose a pretty one. Who cares? There's no style points in the NFL. Go out there and win the freaking game. Any means necessary. Atlanta just doesn't do that. Carolina, for their credit, they do. Another bad team is the Giants. They lose 34-24, and it just, when you watch this team play, they can't stop the run. San Francisco's had a bunch of injuries as well. There's no excuses there. They don't complain about who's not in the lineup. They just go out there and ball. Kyle Shanahan goes, all right, well, we don't have Brock Purdy. All right, Mac Jones will step in. This guy gets banged up. That guy's banged. It doesn't matter. Next man up mentality. You hear that. It's such a cliche. Tale as old as time. But what happens? Those teams end up winning games. There's such a difference between the good teams and the bad teams in the NFL, even when injuries hit. And the Giants all went downhill in that fourth quarter against the Broncos. They lose that game to Denver, then they lose to Philly, then they lose to San Francisco, and the clock is ticking for Joe Shane and for Brian Dable. It just looks terrible. Just watching that game, you sit there and you go, all right, you got Brian Burns, you got Kayvon Thibodeau, you got Abdul Carter, you got Dexter Lawrence. You should be able to dominate on the defensive line, either rushing the passer or stopping the run. They can't do any of that. Offenses run through them like a hot knife through butter. It's embarrassing, and I'm surprised that they still have a job today because they need a huge overhaul there in New York with the Giants. Giants are a bad football team, and for all we kept hearing, all right, well, get the quarterback in place. You get the quarterback in place. Listen, Jackson Dart's doing the best that he can. And I feel like he's doing a much better job of taking care of the football. Doesn't matter. Atrocious. The roster construction is bad. The discipline is bad. Just bad. Pittsburgh with a big win, 27-20 over Indianapolis. They try to fight their way back. Daniel Jones still threw for 342 yards, but Jonathan Taylor only ran for 45. So that is not going to be a recipe for success for the Colts. Jacksonville with a big win in overtime, 30-29 over Vegas. The Rams easily control the Saints. The Saints are bad, man. Holy smokes, that's a bad football team. Kansas City and Buffalo. I tell you what, for all the success that Buffalo has had over Kansas City, I keep telling myself when I'm watching this and people keep bringing, it doesn't matter. Like all that stuff, as much as you would like for it to count and as much as people would like for it to matter, to me, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson specifically, they're not going to be judged on their regular season success. Who cares how many times they beat Patrick Mahomes in the regular season? Mahomes has got multiple Super Bowl victories. They don't even have one. So if they don't have one, I don't care what the regular season is like. It's so funny. Last week, before going into the weekend, everybody was talking about nobody wants to play Kansas City, probably myself included. Watch out for their defense. And then Buffalo really, they controlled that game. Now people are like, oh, look how good the Buffalo defense is. Just like, it's a week-by-week league. If we've learned anything, it's a week-by-week league. Now, you look at Seattle. They beat Washington 38-14. That game wasn't close at all. It was not competitive. And tonight, Arizona, Dallas, tune in if you want. Dallas is a 3.5-point favorite, but I think they're going to win this game easy. When you watch the NFL and you watch college football, and I've said this for weeks now, it's a week-by-week league. And just because you're better than this team on this day doesn't mean you're going to be better than another team on another day. There's no transitive property. It wasn't, well, you beat this team in week 2. They beat this team in week 5. That means you'll beat them in week 8. It doesn't work like that. Styles make fights. Styles make matchups. And when you watch these games, like, who can you rely on? Who do you know without a shadow of a doubt is going to be a good football team? I look at the Bucks. I still think they're on that short list. I even though they lost a couple games, like, I still have a lot of faith in Philadelphia. And you look at the difference between Philly and Tampa Bay. Philly, they go, and especially their general managers with Howie Roseman with Philadelphia and Jason Light with the Buccaneers, and two guys that are both been very successful, but they go about it in different ways. Where Howie's like, screw those picks. We're going to trade for this guy, like they did today with Jalen Phillips. They traded for Jair Alexander over the weekend. They don't care. We're trying to win right now. Oh, you got a checkered past in college? Doesn't matter. We'll take a risk. Why not? And you just keep, high risk, high reward, and you just keep going out there. All right, this doesn't work. We'll make a trade. Very active. Would I rather have a guy like Howie Roseman or Jason Light as my general manager? Howie Roseman. Because of the entertainment value. Purely. Not saying that what Jason doesn't do, or I'm not saying what Jason does is like it's worked for him. He's not going to trade draft picks because he's done such a good job drafting. I understand that. To each their own. For me, as a consumer of entertainment, I love action. I love trades. I love the fantasy football thing. I know it's not fantasy football. That's where people get kind of misconstrued. They're like, oh, it's not fantasy football. Yeah, no shit. But it's fun as hell when you see a lot of player movement, when you see a lot of whining and dining. Your ears perk up when it's like, oh, they traded for Jalen Phillips? Oh, okay. Trying to fortify that pass rush. I see what you're doing there, Philly. A lot of people out there, I wish my team would do that. Detroit going, I wish they would help out Aiden Hutchinson. Buccaneers going, damn, I wish they would help out Yaya Diaby and my guy Anthony Nelson. Right? I mean, that's what we love in sports. We love action. We love activity. Now, what happens with the Dolphins is going to be very interesting because they fire Chris Greer. They keep Tua Tagovailoa. They're going to hold on to Tua. I mean, they're going to hold on to Mike McDaniel. You need such a clear vision of what your team is going to be just to be competitive in the National Football League, right? Think about it. Think about how clear the vision is for Detroit, right? Think about how clear the vision is for a team like Kansas City. Think about how clear, even though they struggled this year, how clear the vision is for a team like Baltimore. How clear is the vision for a team like Buffalo and the Bucks, right? You start the Rams, even though they started the 49ers. Think about that. You have to have such a clear vision of who you are and what type of player that you're going to bring in to be successful, that even if you get it right, still doesn't guarantee you're going to win a Super Bowl. So that's why I look at teams like you could just write these teams off when the seasons start just because of the anarchy. And I'm not talking about young teams, right? I'm not talking about the Patriots. Obviously, they're doing a lot better than people thought. But you brought Mike Vrabel in. Stability. Stability with the Patriots and the Bills. Dolphins and the Jets, see ya. Not even close. The Cleveland Browns, deuces. Bye-bye. The Tennessee Titans, they're just young. So I think it's a little bit different there, right? You look at the Giants, not a chance. The New Orleans Saints, not a chance. The Arizona Cardinals, not a chance. You look at those teams, no possible way were those teams going to be successful this year. No surprise. We always talk about the surprising teams of teams that are better than you thought, right? Those are going to be NFL Coach of the Year candidates. We get that whole thing. We always look at teams that we think are going to be good, and then they are good, right? But we don't always talk about the teams that we don't think are going to be good, and then they just progress to not be good. And that's what has happened this year with some of those teams in the National Football League. You watch them, and you're like, oh, boy, it's a tough putt. It's so hard to be successful in the National Football League when everything is working in concert, when you have one voice, when you have your owner and your head coach and your quarterback and the last player on the bench all working together. It's hard enough to win that way. So when you don't have that, how the heck do you expect to be competitive? You could say whatever you want about teams in the NFL, but I'll give you that you can pretty much look every single year and look at the 8 teams that are going to be competitive just because they are locked in sync with one another. And that's why I think it's when you're looking at this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, it's been fun to watch this year, but also because I think the last couple of seasons, even when this team has struggled, I've been in that locker room. I've been there. Not 1 ounce of dissension, not one guy going astray, not one guy jumping off the ship. Every single player lockstep, working in concert, working together. And that says a lot, man. It says a lot that the Glazers empowered Jason Light with Todd Bowles to his leaders in the locker room. Like that kind of stuff doesn't happen all the time. And when you see fractures in the foundation, it's damn near impossible to be successful that way. Because like I've articulated before, even if everything works out, even if everybody works together, it still doesn't mean you're going to win the Super Bowl. Look at Detroit last year. Look at the great season that they had. They end up losing to a rookie quarterback at home in the playoffs. You just never know what's going to happen. But man, if you're a fan of one of these teams, like the Jets, like the Dolphins, like the Browns, like the Giants, like the Saints, like the Cardinals, I know you don't want to hear the word rebuild. I know you don't want to hear that your team is trading off players, but my goodness, if you don't have one voice, you're going to be in trouble. And it's not just like that in football. I think in football, it's probably more important because you have so many moving pieces. But just look at the dynasties that we've seen in the last 20 years in sports. I mean, I look at the Golden State Warriors and look at what that family was able to do, the lack of family, and then having Steve Kerr working with Bob Myers, and then having Steph and Clay and Draymond. And then you can even bring in a KD and you're still successful. I look back at the Patriots and you look at Kraft and Belichick and Brady, right? And then Gronk and Edelman and the guys on the defensive side of the ball with Vrabel and Willie McGinnis. Like that's the way you take from, an early point. And I've said this before about the Kansas City Chiefs. When you're talking about dynasties, there's different chapters, right? You look at the guys that were beneficial and guys that were really helping the New England Patriots at the beginning of their dynasty, right? You're looking at the Kevin Falks of the world. You're looking at the Deion Branches of the world, the Teddy Bruschi's of the world. And then you start evolving. You bring in the Edelmans and the Welkers and the Randy Mosses and the Gronkowskis, and you start getting older, right? Vince Wilforks. And it changes. That's what we're seeing with Kansas City. You started out in the beginning and you had that high-flying offense with Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. And, you look at all these different guys that we were able to contribute with Andy Reid on the offense and Steve Spagnuolo on the defense. Now you're starting to see them morph and change. Obviously, Tyreek gets traded to Miami. And Travis Kelce, you look at him, like, what's that going to look like in the next 12 to 24 to 36 months? Patrick Mahomes isn't going anywhere, so they have to evolve. But the way that those teams can stay dynastic is by having that one voice, by having the Hunt family to Andy Reid to Patrick Mahomes. That's how the personnel can change, but you can still maintain a modicum of success because you have that one voice. So again, I look at these teams in the NFL and I'm wondering who's going to be the team that upsets the apple cart. Because that's all it takes. Any given Sunday, one game. We saw it in Green Bay. Nobody. And I looked at a bunch of different things after the games yesterday. I didn't see one person that picked Carolina to go into Green Bay and win that game. But that's exactly what happened. That's why football is such a wonderful sport. Because you can't just go, well, this quarterback's better, this head coach is better, this running back's better, this wide receiver. It's not the way it works. If that's the case, then why play? If the games are won on paper, who cares? Nobody cares. You got to go out there and play the game. And I give Bryce Young credit. I give Dave Canales credit. And now, look, the Panthers are hanging around. They're 5-4. Why not us? That's a scary, scary proposition when you're talking about a team that has nothing to lose. I still would take the Buccaneers in both of the games against them, but listen, they're not making it easy. Not making it easy for the Bucs to relax and rest on their laurels. We know we've got the matchups with them. We got another matchup with Atlanta, another matchup with New Orleans. Cannot wait for that. All right. Moving on. We've been talking about this a lot, and let's bring him in. The great Derrick Brooks is going to join us here on the program. Double nickel in the house, the new COO of athletics for South Florida, Hall of Famer, Buccaneers legend. Derrick, thanks so much for joining us. How are you on this wonderful Monday? Oh, I think you're muted. You're muted, Derrick. Hold on. You're good on my side, but I don't hear you. Brian's got to help you. Nope, unmute. There. Still nothing. Dang. Hold on. We'll get it going. Hold on, we'll see. Give me 1 second. Muted. Yeah, because it's not muted on our side, so it's got to be something over there, Derrick, with the microphone or the phone. I'm texting Brian Segrist now to see if he can send somebody over there to help you. Let me see. There we go. Yeah, the mic said, I know the mic says you're on. Here we go. Device connected. He's out. He's going to go out and go back in. We'll see if we can get him on. All right, we'll get Derrick on in a second here. We'll work on it. He was there. I'm telling you, he was there. He could hear me. I just couldn't hear him. But we'll get him on here momentarily. DB the legend. Again, follow me on all social media platforms, guys, at Recher. The great Derrick Brooks joins us here on the program. He's getting out, getting back in. Let's see if we can get the microphone working. How about now? Dang it, still not working. Damn it. The advances of modern technology, man. Hold on, we'll make sure somebody goes over there. Let me bring it out. Hold on, buddy. I don't know. Let me see. I'm going to call somebody. Hold on. Boom, 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 boom. We're going to get this done. We'll make it work. Hey, are you at USF right now? Can you go help Derrick Brooks? I'm trying to get him on my podcast and his microphone's not working. Can you? I think he's in his office. Thank you. Bye. We're working on it, guys. We're working on it. We'll get him. I just called somebody at USF. They're going to be able to go help us out. We'll get this done. We'll get Derrick Brooks on this. Promise. He was there. We got the video on, but you could hear it too. Like you can hear the, when the microphone's on. But we didn't hear it. But the video worked good. We'll make it happen. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you. Appreciate all the kind words. I called my friend Carly, who does such a great job with the social media over there. We'll get Derrick on. No problem. Hang up, reset. I know we did the old unplug it, plug it out. The old plug it out, unplug it, plug it back in. We'll get it though. It's something on his side because on my side it says the microphone is working. But sometimes when you're on the laptop, sometimes when you're on the computer, you got to click the microphone settings. But we'll make it happen because we were just talking to Rob Higgins the other day. So it's good that it's happening now with me because if it was happening during a big, a big call when he's on national news or something like ESPN, we don't want that to happen. So we're glad we're working out the kinks here on the Jay Recher podcast. That is how we roll. Make sure go to gousfbulls.com. Get your tickets tonight. Men's and women's basketball in action at the Yuengling Center. The first game for Michelle Woods Baxter at the helm of USF women's basketball, for also Coach Brian Hodson for men's basketball. That was great stuff, man. Big shout out to Eddie Spaghetti. Speak that. Let him know, bro. Appreciate you, buddy, for the $2 super chat. And again, yeah, we mentioned it before. Thursday, Sports Center, Derrick Brooks. All right, let's see. Look at that. Are you there? I still don't hear you. I know. I still can't hear you, Derrick. God, what is going on? See, edit mic settings. Dang it. We're working on it, guys. I've already had. Derrick. Oh, wait.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right.
We got it. I knew we were going to make this happen. I've said, Derrick, I said, I'm glad it's happening now rather when you're on some big news conference or anything like that. You said, work out the kinks with me. That's fine. Double Nickel, always great to catch up with you, man. Thank you so much. And congratulations on your new gig there with USF. Just take us through the decision process, man. You and I both know Rob Higgins and how, the influence with him. And I know, you're Dania's dad most of the time wearing green and gold too. Just take us through that thought process, man, of joining up and now being the COO.
Well, first, thank God here, Jay, for the opportunity. And apparently this came from left field, right field, center field. I did not see this coming. This was definitely a trick play. But Rob started the conversation with Steve Griggs, our CEO at Vintage Sports Group, about, his challenges here, things that he was going through, and felt he needed some help, and mentioned my name as someone who wanted to have a conversation with, because I was obviously instrumental in terms of Rob's words of helping him land the job. He bounced a lot of ideas off me, and everyone, knows our relationship. So Rob just kind of went back through history and said with the sports commission and working with me, we've had a lot of success together. And asked Steve, hey, if I talk to Derrick, do you mind? And Steve Griggs, being, who he is, of course not. I understand you and Derrick's relationship, but, I think Derrick's pretty happy at BSG. So don't, but we had a conversation, and, fast forward, Jay, just through a series of meetings here, the past couple of weeks, things started to speed up. So as I talked to Steve Griggs, really just asking him for his honest opinion, hey, how did this lay out for me? What are you honestly, what are you thinking? And say, hey, I hate to lose you here at Vintage Sports Group, but here's the opportunity that he see it. And he laid down some really important things. One, just being involved with the collegiate sports. He knows I'm pretty plugged in. Secondly, he knows Rob trusts me. I think that's probably the biggest factor is trust. Obviously, our work history of success, and just looking into the future. Hey, where's the biggest impact, he think that I can have on the most people in this position? So I took that conversation and talked to Mr. Vinnick about it as well, because he was the reason I'm in the position. So I say, take you back, 15 years ago, Mr. V. What attracted me here to work for you, and he did. He laid out some of the very similar things that Steve did, and he talked about the opportunity, which I'd never thought of. Hey, this gets you back in your wheelhouse of working with young people on a daily basis. Obviously, your foundation, your school, but this is a whole new level when we're talking student athletes involvement. 500 of them on a day-to-day basis. How could you spring that forward with this opportunity? And, helping Rob build something, not build something from the ground up, but build something now and taking it to the next level. And I was a part of the executive team that was able to do that with the Tampa Bay Lightning starting in 2011. And I just want to bring that experience here. So that's kind of how things fast forwarded between a series of conversation that Rob had, obviously, with Steve. And I'm talking to Mr. Vinnick. And finally, my family. I laid it all out to my wife, Carol, and talked to the kids. And everyone was excited about the potential of this opportunity. Obviously there's some stipulations there with Dania. I gotta make I gotta make sure that I stay out of her way. Her and her mom, but in all seriousness, no, they're excited for me with this opportunity, and the icing on the cake for me. Jay, is driving. Very soon after, I told Rob that I would do it. Just driving home, it hit me that this is something a lot of people don't get a chance to do in life. Uh, for me as a father, three out of my four kids, like all four of my kids, college graduates, two of them, they're masters. And I get a chance to experience three out of the four their collegiate experience at this point in their life. My son, when he surprised me by going to Florida State, his football career. My second son, Darius, who works at the College of Education here. And finally, Dania, student athlete here, softball player. I get a chance to be a part of that, all three on a daily basis, as a dad. And that's something that a lot of people don't get a chance to do.
That's a beautiful thing. And I had Ian Beckles, your good buddy, on earlier today, and he goes, I said, what did you think about, Derek? And he goes, obviously it's the perfect hire. And he brought up something, he brought up something, and I know it means a lot to you too, Derek. He goes, this is what Leroy Selman would have wanted. Yeah. Leroy, and we know, and I've heard you talk about Leroy so many different times. And I mean, it's really cool to be able to see what he was a part of helping build from the beginning to kind of usher in this kind of like this new wave of USF athletics, isn't it?
Yes. I'd be remiss without, saying that was a big part, of me walking through these doors too, as well as Rob. When we talk about winning the building and changing the culture and getting everybody aligned and going in the same direction, that's something that Mr. Selman did for this university, whether it was in the USF Foundation or his tenure here in the athletic department. He did that. He synergized a vision, he infused culture, and everybody wanted to pull their hardest and their best effort, for him. I want to create that. I want to be a part of it. Uh, Man, big shout outs to Miss Claver, Leroy Selman Jr. They've always, encouraged me or even thanked me at times for my relationship here with USF. But now in this position, to see them bless it in the manner that they see his legacy, I just want to continue to build on it. It's not ironic, man. The first time I stepped foot on this campus was through that invitation with Leroy to come speak to the coaches. Hey, I'm starting this football program, these coaches, and now a stadium is being built on where those trailers were. Way back then that I walked on this campus, and now I get a chance to probably take one of the most valuable assets now in the state of Florida, a brand new football stadium, and be a part of launching it forward.
Yeah, it's exciting. And we're seeing the more and more of a spotlight being put on USF. We know that basketball tips off tonight, 6 and 8 o'clock. Men's and women's basketball. Go USFBulls.com. One ticket gets you 2 games. The first game in the tenure of Michelle Woods Baxter and Coach Brian Hodson. Can't not wait for that. And then football. We're seeing that Sports Center is coming on Thursday to the Student Center. I mean, I've been saying this for years, Derek, but if you need any more proof, I mean, look at what's going on. I mean, it's got to be exciting because you're a Tampa guy, like to be able to see, to be a part of something that is really, and I know Rob doesn't want to talk about the prospect or the future. Like it's here now, Derek. I mean, that's got to be exciting to be a part of.
Yes, it is. As we look forward and look at, what are the things that make us great, and that's staying in the now and capitalizing on every moment, every mission, everything now, and then you move on to the next one and creating those great habits. So this is part of our culture. Whereas Sports Center here, we want to make it a norm.
Mhm.
You know, we want to be that university that, hey, when the schedule comes out, hey, we're going to Tampa
Mhm.
these many times. We're working towards that. That is our goal. But for right now, we're going to celebrate and make this the most memorable experience that they possibly can have by coming to our student center here this Thursday. So it's going to be action packed. It's going to be fun. It's going to be energetic. And, you know, our players, our coaches, our university deserve it. So we want to match that energy and now take that energy to the stadium and get a win against a very, very tough team in UTSA.
Yeah, and then next week we got to go up to Navy and beat them. Sorry, Michael Kelly, we're gonna have to take this win from you, my friend. How important is that, Derek? The entire Team Tampa Bay thing, because you were there a couple of
Yes.
years ago when we were. It was like I think it was the Monday before the Super Bowl. We were at Sparkman Wharf, and
Yes.
the gentleman came off and he's like, "Yeah, I thought Team Tampa Bay was kind of like hokey," and then he goes, "And then I look at all the teams represented here." And he's like, "It's a real thing, isn't it?" And I just, those words rang so true with me because I was like, yeah, it's not just some slogan. Like the teams do care about each other, like the Lightning and USF and Bucks and Rays and Rowdies, like Sun, everybody. Like, how great is to be able to see that, Derek? Because I was just watching the Buccaneers and the origination of the Buccaneers and their first win, and how, you know, football brought this community together. And going from the late 70s to now, I mean, just in your time here in the Tampa Bay area, how nice is it that Team Tampa Bay really is a real thing?
It is. And it's more than just nice, Jay. It's a culture. It's an identity. You know, it's a real feeling. And we're proud of it. Whether it's a Tampa Bay slogan or a Team Tampa slogan, all of it means, you know, winning. And we're going to win as a people. As Coach Dungy, I finally remember back in 96 when he talked about at that time the Bucks being a team that the community is proud of. Well, right now, all these teams are teams that the community can be proud of and the community feel a part of. That's the most memorable thing for me during our championship run in 2002. It was the downtown parade and seeing everybody from the Bay Area celebrate this championship just like they played a snap of football because they did. They did. They played through us. And the 50th anniversary, man, those guys from the late 70s holding that Super Bowl trophy just like they played a snap in that game. You know what? They did because they're part of it. So for me, Team Tampa is a culture, it's a real thing, and it's something that we all got to continue to buy in from generations, from my generation, your generations, our kids' generation. We got to continue to be that momentum. And USF is going to be a centerpiece of that because, hey, look at all the students that we have here. We're probably one of the biggest employers of people here in Tampa, and we want that culture. We want to start here in the building. That's named out there. Leroy Selman, you talk that over. Win this building. Now let's go to the campus. Win the campus. Dr. Moaz coming in, new president, love him. His energy's coming. Now, we as a culture, a building, a campus, now let's go win the community all together. And to say Team Tampa, there's a lot of seats on that boat. Not that car. We talking boat. 'Cause we talking boat parades here for championships. We do it in the water.
Yeah. Did you now when you saw the Lightning and the Bucks have a boat parade? Did you go, "Damn, we could have done that"? Did you think that?
No, at that time, man, I would have walked across a grass patch to celebrate a championship. I didn't care where we was going. So, no, but man, that's one of the most beautiful things out of COVID. You know,
Yeah.
that was birth. Boat parades, you know, on the Hillsborough River. So we plan to have our fair share of parades here at Tampa, here with USF.
No doubt about it. All right, Derek, before I let you go, man, I got to ask you about the Bucks, man. And I've been so, using a USF term, I've been so bullish on the Bucks this year just because I love the identity of this team. I love that they can sustain injuries. And I'm in that locker room, Derek. Nobody says anything about it. It's like, what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to complain? Like, we got to focus on the matter at hand. We got to focus on going ahead. They're 6-2. They got obviously a tough game coming up against New England. But man, I feel really good about this Buccaneers team because the leadership all the way down, regardless of the injuries. What's your kind of overall assessment of the team this year, and what do you think could be their, what the future could look like this season?
Well, they're right where I thought they would be, in first place at the midway point. The bye coming at a great time for them. Very few teams get a bye week 8, 9, and 10. Right. And they're fortunate could usually get some guys back healthy this week, going against a New England team that's just as hot as the Bucs, right now. But we got them at home. So they're right where I expected them to be. They got their minds gas pedal only, keeping what's ahead of them. Not worrying about who's behind them in the division, taking care of their own business, and that's the game at hand. And Coach Bowles, man, he does not get enough credit.
Right.
And I say that every time somebody asks me about the Bucs. It starts with him. He in a relationship with Jason Light, man, they don't get enough credit. But they just keep winning, and things will happen. Obviously, Baker, MVP type of season through the first half, and I hope he continues that here the second half. Now, one area that I would like for some improvement is definitely on the pass rush. We got to be able to win. We got to be able to win some one-on-one matchups where the risk reward gets us out of a comfort zone where coach has to take too many risks to get pressure and create disruption on defense against the opposing offense. Teams now are too good, and they're making you pay on offense, man, if you go to that well too much. So if we can kind of get some isolated one-on-one wins where coach don't have to get as risky and creative on the back end, I think that's an improvement on defense, and continue to win the turnover battle. Keep winning the turnover battle, staying ahead of the sticks, I think we'll be fine.
I got to ask you, Levante David. I know people on the outside. I love the guy, and I've been able to cover him for 12 years now. I was hoping that the success of the team happened earlier in his career, some more primetime games. We just got to keep loving on Levante and Mike while they're here. And, I'm going to keep busting Ira's balls. Like, come on, Ira. Ira. Come on, we got to talk up Levante David, Ira. Come on. But he's been – these two guys really have kind of taken that mantle from you and Rondé and the guys, and really have led this team both on and off the field, haven't they?
Oh, yeah, can't say enough. As I told Mike Evans in a lot of these promotions here for the 50th season, I think he's well deserving. If I was shooting that same scene with Devontae, I'd tell him the same thing. I can't say enough about these young men who weathered some tough times early on in their career, and they just stayed consistent, putting the work in. And obviously, two of the better players in this league right now, two of the most celebrated careers right now. So I don't want to talk about them too much in terms of me writing them off, because they are still in the midst of it, and their focus is obviously on it right now. We're praying for Mike to come back this season, and hopefully later in the season he's back to help us down the stretch in the playoff run, and Levante continue to play well and stay healthy throughout the season, because we're going to need his leadership and his impact here as we get into the second half of the season.
Bucks 6-2, Bolts on a 5-game winning streak, and of course, a lot of great things happening at USF. All the information, go to gousfbulls.com. He's the Hall of Famer and COO of USF Athletics, our good friend Derrick Brooks. Derrick, thank you so much for your time.
Yes.
Have a great rest of your week, and go Bulls, my friend.
Go Bulls. Go Bulls.
Thank you, sir. Good stuff, as always, Derrick Brooks. We got it, man. We got it underway. We got it rolling, man. Always great to talk to Double Nickel, man. Listen, he is the best. He is the best. And I remember years ago when he used to come on with the big dog every Wednesday. And one time he was, I should have brought it up when he was on, but he didn't know what to get his family for Christmas. So Big Dog had this deal with Omaha Steaks. So all Derrick did was just buy Omaha Steaks for like everybody, bro. It was so funny. He's like, got to print this out, print it during every commercial break. It was like, print this out, print. And it was like, it was a good chunk of money that he spent on Omaha Steaks for Christmas for his family. He's just the best, man. We're so lucky and so fortunate to be able to have guys like that. in our community. All right, that's going to wrap it up for me. 2 hours in the bag of good stuff today. I mean, when you have Ian Beckles and Derrick Brooks on it, I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. A big thank you to Honest Hammer, boom, EverHealth, boom, and everybody that's involved with the show today. I love you all, man. I can't do this without you. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. I am everywhere at Recher. Like and subscribe as well on YouTube. Go USFBulls.com, 6 and 8 o'clock tonight. Women's, men's basketball. Go check it out. Going to be fantastic. Sports Center on campus on Thursday. Man, what a time to be alive. What a time to be a member of Team Tampa Bay. All right. I love you all. I appreciate you all. We'll see you tomorrow at noon right here on the Recher Podcast. I'm gone. Peace out.